There are moments from your life that feel lost to time. Your first day of school, the smile of someone you loved, a quiet conversation that shaped who you became. We think these moments fade, slipping further away each year. But what if they never left? What if every second you have ever lived is still moving through the universe, carried outward at the speed of light? Modern physics suggests something breathtaking. The past is not gone. It expands with the cosmos, etched into light, preserved in the fabric of space-time itself. Right now, far from Earth, someone with a powerful enough telescope could watch your 7th birthday exactly as it happened. To them, that moment is not memory. It is alive, so settle in and slow your breath. Tonight we ask a question that touches both science and the heart. Where does the past go? And does it ever really leave us? Let's start with something simple, a photograph. Maybe you have one nearby, tucked in a drawer or saved on your phone, a picture of yourself from years ago. When you look at it, you see a moment frozen in time, a younger version of you, smiling at something you might not even remember now. That moment feels gone. It happened once, you experienced it, and then it passed into memory. But here's what physics tells us. That moment didn't disappear. It's still out there. Not as a memory, not as a recording, but as an actual event still unfolding in the fabric of the universe. The light that bounced off your face in that photograph, the photons that carried your image, didn't stop existing when the moment ended. They kept moving. They're still moving now, spreading outward through space at 186,000 miles per second, carrying that moment with them into the cosmos. Think about what that means. Right now, the light from your 10th birthday is roughly 30 light years away from Earth. If an observer with an impossibly powerful telescope were stationed at that exact distance, looking back at our planet, they wouldn't see the Earth as it is today. They would see it as it was 30 years ago. They would see you. Not a recording, not a memory. The actual light that reflected off your skin, carried your smile, captured the exact position of your hands as you reached for something. To them, you are 10 years old right now, in this moment, living that day all over again. This isn't science fiction, this is how light works. Light travels at a fixed speed, and because of that, it takes time to cross distances. When you look at the moon, you're seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you look at the sun, you're seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago. The farther away something is, the further back in time you're seeing it. This principle doesn't just apply to distant stars and galaxies. It applies to you. Every moment of your life sent light scattering in all directions. Most of that light hit nearby objects, walls, trees, other people, and was absorbed or reflected again. But some of it escaped. Some of it travelled upward, through the atmosphere, past the edge of space and out into the universe. That light is still travelling. It will keep travelling forever, unless it hits something. And because space is so vast, so unimaginably empty, much of that light will never hit anything. It will just keep going, carrying your past forward further and further from Earth with every passing second. Imagine that. Somewhere out there, 70 light years away, the light from the day you were born is still moving. Someone in that region of space, if they had the technology to capture and decode such faint and scattered light, could witness your birth. They could see your parents' faces. They could watch the nurses, the doctors, the first moment you opened your eyes. Not a reenactment. The actual event, preserved in photons, still travelling, still real. Now let's take this further. It's not just your personal moments, it's everything. Every event in human history is still out there, encoded in light. The signing of the Declaration of Independence is 248 light years away. The fall of the Roman Empire is roughly 1,500 light years out. The construction of the pyramids is over 4,000 light years into space. And the extinction of the dinosaurs? That's 65 million light years away. An unimaginable distance. But the light from that moment, the asteroid impact, the dust clouds rising, the last breath of the last dinosaur, it's all still travelling. These aren't metaphors. These are physical facts. The past isn't locked away in history books or fading memories. It's radiating through the universe in the form of light, eternally moving, eternally present. But here's where it gets even stranger. This doesn't just mean the past is out there, it means there is no universal present. Right now, as you read these words, you might think that now is the same for everyone, that this moment, this present, is shared by every person on Earth, every star in the sky, every atom in the universe. But Einstein's theory of relativity showed us something unsettling. There is no universal now. What you call now is not the same as what someone else, moving at a different speed or in a different gravitational field, would call now. This is called the relativity of simultaneity. Let's break that down. Imagine two people. One is standing still on Earth. The other is flying past in a spaceship at nearly the speed of light. Because of how time and space are woven together into space-time, each observer will have a different experience of what now means. What the person on Earth considers the present moment might be in the past or the future for the person in the spaceship. This isn't a trick of perception. It's built into the structure of reality. There is no single, shared present moment that everyone in the universe experiences together. Instead, every observer has their own slice of now, and those slices don't line up. So what does this mean for the past? It means that from a certain perspective, your past is still someone else's present. To an alien civilization far enough away, moving at the right speed, in the right frame of reference, the moment of your birth could still be happening right now. Not as a memory, not as light travelling toward them, but as an actual present moment in their experience of time. They could, in theory, be living in a now that overlaps with your past. This is one of the most profound implications of relativity. The universe doesn't have a single timeline. It has infinite timelines, all layered on top of each other, all equally real, all depending on where you are and how fast you're moving. But let's bring this back down to something more tangible. Let's talk about what we can actually observe. Astronomers have a tool that lets them look directly into the past. It's called a telescope. Every time we point a giant telescope at the sky, we're not seeing the universe as it is now, we're seeing it as it was. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest galactic neighbour, is about 2.5 million light-years away. When you look at an image of Andromeda, you're seeing it as it was 2.5 million years ago. The light that left that galaxy back then is only just now reaching your eyes. If Andromeda exploded tomorrow, we wouldn't know for another 2.5 million years. The farther out we look, the further back in time we see. The Hubble Space Telescope has captured images of galaxies so distant that their light has been travelling for over 13 billion years. That means we're seeing those galaxies as they were shortly after the Big Bang, when the universe was still young, still forming its first stars. Those galaxies might not even exist anymore. They may have collided, merged, or drifted into darkness billions of years ago, but we see them now, frozen in time, because their light is still travelling toward us. This is what astronomers call a light echo. And it's one of the most powerful pieces of evidence that the past is still out there. In 2008, scientists observed something extraordinary. They detected light echoes from a supernova that exploded over 400 years ago. The supernova, called SN 1572, or Tycho's supernova, was seen by astronomers in the 16th century. It was so bright that it was visible during the day. But the explosion itself was brief, lasting only a few months before fading from view. For centuries, that moment was thought to be over, gone, lost to history. But then, in the 21st century, astronomers realized something. The light from that explosion hadn't disappeared. It had scattered. Some of it had bounced off clouds of interstellar dust far from the original site. That reflected light was still travelling, still carrying information about the explosion. By capturing these light echoes, scientists were able to reconstruct the supernova in remarkable detail. They could measure its brightness, its chemical composition, even the asymmetry of the blast. They were in effect watching a 400-year-old event unfold in real time, not through a recording, not through a simulation, through actual light that had been travelling through space for centuries, waiting to be seen. This is what we mean when we say the past is still out there. It's not metaphorical, it's measurable, it's observable. The past doesn't vanish, it moves, it spreads, it echoes. Now let's think about your own life through this lens. Every step you've ever taken, every word you've ever spoken, every glance, every gesture, sent light scattering in all directions. Most of that light didn't travel far. It hit walls, trees, the ground, other people. It was absorbed, reflected, transformed. But some of it escaped. Some of it made it past the atmosphere, out into the vastness of space, and it's still going. The light from your first steps is out there. The light from your first words is out there. The light from every moment of joy, every moment of pain, every quiet afternoon you've ever experienced is all still travelling, spreading outward in an expanding shell around the earth. This shell of light is growing. Right now is about as old as the oldest thing you can remember. In 100 years, it will be 100 light years wide. In 1,000 years, 1,000 light years. And it will keep expanding forever unless something stops it. This means that somewhere, incredibly far away, there is a sphere of space where the light from your life is still passing through. And if anyone is out there, watching, they could see you. Not as you are now, as you were. They could watch your life unfold, moment by moment, year by year, like a movie playing in the stars. But here's the part that makes this even more profound. It's not just light, it's information. In physics, information is never destroyed. This is one of the foundational principles of quantum mechanics and thermodynamics. Even when something seems to vanish, like a piece of paper burning to ash, the information about that paper, its structure, its composition, the words written on it, doesn't disappear. It transforms. It spreads. It becomes encoded in the arrangement of atoms, in the heat released, in the smoke rising into the air. The same is true for every event in your life. Every action you've ever taken has left a trace, not just in your memory, not just in the people around you, but in the physical universe itself. When you move your hand, you displace air molecules. Those molecules collide with others, creating a cascade of motion that ripples outward. That ripple never stops. It weakens, it disperses, but it never fully disappears. It becomes part of the background motion of the atmosphere, part of the flow of wind, part of the chaotic dance of particles that fills the space around you. In this way, your past is not separate from the present. It's woven into it. Every moment you've lived has contributed to the current state of the universe, in ways large and small, obvious and invisible. You are not moving through time, leaving the past behind. You are creating time, building it, layering it, one moment on top of another. And those layers don't disappear. They accumulate, they persist. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a question that's both simple and profound. If the past is still out there, encoded in light, preserved in information, layered into the structure of the universe, then what does it mean to say that something is gone? When someone says the past is over, what they really mean is that they can no longer access it. They can't touch it, they can't change it, they can't return to it. But that doesn't mean it's not there. It just means it's beyond reach, like a book on a shelf too high to grab, or a door that's been locked. The past exists, but we've lost our connection to it. Except, as we've seen, we haven't entirely lost that connection. We can still observe the past. Through telescopes, we can still study it through light echoes, through fossils, through the traces it leaves behind. We can even, in a sense, touch it, because the atoms in your body, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all of it was forged in the hearts of ancient stars. You are made of the past. Every part of you is a relic, a remnant, a preserved fragment of events that happened billions of years ago. You are not separate from time. You are time, condensed, shaped, aware. And this brings us to the most unsettling realization of all. If the past doesn't disappear, if it's still out there in some form, then maybe you are too. Not just the current version of you, but every version. The child you were, the teenager you were, the person you were 5 minutes ago. All of those versions still exist, somewhere, in some way. not as memories, as moments, frozen in the structure of space-time, encoded in the light still travelling outward, preserved in the quantum information that makes up the universe. You are not a single point moving through time, you are a thread stretched across it, extending from your birth to this moment and beyond. And that thread doesn't end, it just keeps going, growing longer with every second, weaving itself deeper into the fabric of everything. So the next time you think about the past, about a moment you wish you could return to, or a memory you're afraid of losing, remember this: it's not gone, it never was. It's out there, somewhere, still shimmering in the dark, still travelling, still real. And in a way you might not fully understand yet, it's still a part of you. Because you are not just living in the present, you are carrying the past forward in every breath, every heartbeat, every thought. You are a vessel of time, and time, as we're learning, never truly lets go. To understand how the past remains woven into the universe, we need to look at the structure of reality itself. Not just what we can see or touch, but the underlying framework that holds everything together. This is where Einstein's theory of relativity becomes essential. Because what Einstein discovered wasn't just that time is relative, it's that time and space are fundamentally connected. They're not separate things. They're two aspects of the same fabric, something physicists call space-time. Before Einstein, people thought of space as a stage where events happened, and time as something that flowed independently, ticking forward at the same rate for everyone everywhere. But Einstein showed that this isn't true. Time doesn't flow at a fixed rate. It moves differently depending on how fast you're travelling and how strong the gravitational field is around you. This isn't just theoretical, it's been measured. Clocks on airplanes tick slightly faster than clocks on the ground. GPS satellites have to account for this difference, or they'd give you directions that were off by miles. Astronauts on the International Space Station age slightly slower than people on Earth. Not by much, only fractions of a second over months, but measurably, provably slower. Time is not a constant, it's flexible, and that flexibility changes everything we think we know about the past. In Einstein's framework, the universe isn't a three-dimensional space that changes over time. It's a four-dimensional structure where time is just another direction, like up and down, or left and right. Every event that has ever happened, every moment you've ever experienced, exists as a point in this four-dimensional space-time. And all of those points, all of those moments exist simultaneously. This is called the block universe model. Imagine space-time as a loaf of bread. Each slice represents a moment in time. Your birth is one slice, your first day of school is another. This moment, right now, is another slice. And all of these slices exist together in the loaf. They don't flow, they don't change, they just are. You experience time as flowing because your consciousness moves through the slices, one after another, like a spotlight scanning across a landscape. But the landscape itself doesn't move, it's always there. The slice from your childhood is just as real as the slice you're in right now. It's just located at a different point in space-time. You can't see it because your awareness is focused here, in this moment. But it hasn't disappeared. It's simply elsewhere in the structure. This idea feels strange because our experience of time is so different. We feel like we're moving forward, like the present is happening and the past is gone. But according to the block universe, that's an illusion created by the way our brains process information. In reality, all moments exist equally. There is no objective difference between past, present, and future. They're just different locations in space-time. Think of it like a film reel. When you watch a movie, you see one frame at a time, and those frames create the illusion of motion, of time passing, but the entire film exists as a complete object. Frame 1 doesn't stop existing when you get to frame 2. It's still there, part of the whole. You just can't see it while you're looking at frame 2. Space-time works the same way. Your past is still there, you just can't see it because your consciousness is focused on the present frame. But from a perspective outside of time, if such a perspective were possible, all of your moments would be visible at once. Your entire life would be laid out like a path, visible from beginning to end, all of it equally real, all of it equally present. This is one of the most profound implications of relativity. The past doesn't go anywhere. It remains part of the structure of the universe, eternally. Now let's talk about what this means for observation. If all moments in space-time exist simultaneously, then in principle, they can be observed, not just through light travelling across space, but through the geometry of space-time itself. There's a concept in physics called a light cone. Imagine a single event, like you snapping your fingers right now. Light spreads out from that moment in every direction at the speed of light. If you draw this on a diagram of space-time, with space on the horizontal axis and time on the vertical axis, the light spreads outward in an expanding cone shape. This cone has two parts. The future light cone contains all the events that could potentially be affected by your snap. Any event inside that cone is reachable by the light or influence from your action. The past light cone contains all the events that could have affected your snap. Anything whose light or influence could have reached you in time to matter. Here's the fascinating part. Events outside your light cone, things that are neither in your causal past nor your causal future, exist in a region called elsewhere. These events are not definitively before or after your moment. Their relationship to your now depends entirely on your frame of reference, on how fast you're moving and where you are in space-time. This means that for different observers, your past could still be happening, not as a memory, not as light travelling toward them, but as an actual concurrent event in their experience of time. An observer far enough away, moving at the right velocity, could be experiencing a now that overlaps with your childhood. To them, that moment isn't history, it's present. And this isn't just a thought experiment. This is how space-time actually works. The structure of reality allows for this. The past and present are not absolute categories. They're relative, dependent on the observer. So when we ask whether the past still exists, the answer according to relativity is yes, absolutely. From certain frames of reference, your past is still unfolding. It's not behind you, it's beside you in a different slice of space-time that other observers can access depending on their position and motion. You can't reach it because you're locked into your own reference frame, moving forward through time at your own rate. But the moment itself hasn't vanished. It's still there, woven into the fabric of the universe, as real as the ground beneath your feet. Let's shift our focus now to something more concrete, something we can actually measure and observe: gravitational waves. In 2015, scientists detected for the first time ripples in space-time itself, caused by two black holes colliding over 1 billion light-years away. These ripples, called gravitational waves, travelled across the universe at the speed of light, stretching and compressing space-time as they passed through everything in their path. When the waves reached Earth, they distorted distances by an amount smaller than the width of a proton, but incredibly sensitive instruments called LIGO and Virgo were able to detect these tiny distortions. And in doing so, they didn't just observe an event, they observed the past. Those black holes collided over 1 billion years ago. The gravitational waves we detected carried information about that collision, about the mass of the black holes, the speed of their orbit, the final moments before they merged. By studying the waves, scientists could reconstruct what happened, not through light, but through the geometry of space-time itself. Gravitational waves are literal echoes of the past, vibrations of reality that carry history forward. And they don't stop. Once created, they propagate outward forever, growing fainter, but never disappearing. Every massive event in the history of the universe, every star that exploded, every galaxy that collided, every black hole that formed, has sent out gravitational waves. And those waves are still travelling, still carrying the signature of events that happened billions of years ago. This means the universe is filled with echoes. Not just light echoes, but space-time echoes. The past isn't silent, it resonates. If you could tune into the right frequency, if you could listen with instruments sensitive enough, you could hear the history of the cosmos playing out around you, the birth of stars, the death of galaxies, the collisions of unimaginable forces, all of it still reverberating, still present, still encoded in the structure of space-time. And it's not just distant cosmic events. Every movement of mass creates gravitational waves. When you walk across a room, When you wave your hand, when your heart beats, you create ripples in space-time. They're incredibly faint, far too small to measure with any technology we have or will likely ever have. But they're real. You are constantly disturbing space-time, sending tiny waves outward that carry information about your motion, your presence, your existence. Those waves don't stop. They keep going, forever. In this way, you are not just a passenger through space-time. You are a participant. You are actively shaping it, bending it, leaving your mark on the fabric of reality, and that mark doesn't fade. It spreads, weakens, but persists. Now let's return to light for a moment, because there's something else we need to understand: the cosmic microwave background. This is the oldest light in the universe, a faint glow left over from the Big Bang. About 380,000 years after the universe began, it cooled enough for atoms to form. Before that, the universe was too hot. It was a dense plasma where light couldn't travel far before being absorbed and re-emitted. But when atoms formed, light was suddenly free to move, and it's been moving ever since. That light, stretched and cooled by the expansion of the universe, is still here. It fills all of space, coming from every direction, uniform and constant. When scientists study the cosmic microwave background, they're not just seeing the universe as it was billions of years ago. They're seeing the oldest moment we can ever observe. They're looking at the past directly, and that past is still here, still surrounding us, still travelling. The light from the Big Bang hasn't disappeared. It's been stretched, redshifted, cooled to just a few degrees above absolute zero. But it's still light, still photons, still carrying information about the universe in its infancy. This is perhaps the most striking evidence that the past doesn't vanish. The oldest event we can observe is still observable because its light is still travelling, and it will keep travelling forever unless something absorbs it. There's another layer to this, something called the holographic principle. This is a theoretical idea in physics that suggests all the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on the boundary of that space. Imagine a sphere. Everything that happens inside that sphere, every particle, every interaction, every event, can in principle be represented as information on the surface of the sphere. If the holographic principle is correct, and many physicists take it seriously, then the universe itself might work this way. All the information about the past, present, and future could be encoded on the boundary of space-time, on the edge of the observable universe. In this view, the past isn't just preserved in light or in gravitational waves or in the structure of space-time. It's encoded in a fundamentally different way, written into the very edges of reality itself. You could think of it like data on a hard drive. The drive doesn't contain physical objects. It contains information, patterns of ones and zeros that represent images, sounds, words. The holographic principle suggests that space-time is similar. It's not a container holding objects, it's a structure encoding information, and if that's true, then every moment that has ever happened is still encoded somewhere, not as a moment you can visit, but as information that can, in principle, be read. Let's bring this back to something more personal: your memories. When you remember something, your brain doesn't replay a recording. It reconstructs the memory from stored information. Neurons fire in specific patterns, recreating the experience as best they can. But the memory isn't a perfect copy. It changes every time you recall it. New details get added. Old ones fade. The act of remembering is an act of creation. But here's the thing. Even though your memories are imperfect, they're based on something real. They're based on events that happened, events that left traces in the physical world. When you experienced that moment, your senses captured information. Light hit your eyes. Sound waves reached your ears. That information was encoded in your brain, and your brain is made of atoms. Those atoms are part of the universe. They're part of space-time. So in a very real sense, your memories are not just inside your head. They're part of the structure of reality. The moment you remember is still out there, encoded in the light that travelled away from it, in the gravitational waves it created, in the atoms that were rearranged by your presence. You are not separate from the past. You are carrying it with you, in your body, in your mind, in the very substance of your being. And this leads to something profound. If the past is preserved in the structure of space-time, if it's encoded in light and gravity and information, then you are not a temporary flicker of consciousness. You are a permanent part of the universe's story. Every moment you've lived has left a mark. Not just on your memory, not just on the people around you, but on reality itself. You have disturbed space-time, you have sent light scattering into the cosmos. You have created patterns of motion, waves of influence, ripples of cause and effect that will never fully disappear. They will spread, weaken, transform, but they will not vanish. In this way, you are eternal. Not in the sense that you will live forever, but in the sense that your existence, your presence, your moments have become part of the universe in a way that cannot be undone. The past doesn't go away. It becomes foundation. It becomes the ground on which the present stands. And you are part of that ground now. Every step you've taken, every word you've spoken, every breath you've drawn, is woven into the fabric of everything. You cannot be erased. You can only be added to, layer upon layer, moment upon moment, building a structure that grows but never shrinks. So when we ask where the past goes, we're really asking the wrong question. The past doesn't go anywhere. It stays, it spreads, it transforms into new forms, new patterns, new configurations. But it remains, always, and that includes you. The child you were is still out there, encoded in light, travelling through space. The person you were yesterday is still part of the structure of space-time. The you reading these words right now will soon be part of the past, but that doesn't mean you'll be gone. It means you'll be somewhere else in the fabric of the universe, still real, still present, just not accessible to your future self. You are not moving through time, leaving the past behind like breadcrumbs on a trail. You are building time, creating it, layering it into existence. And what you build doesn't disappear. It becomes part of the whole, part of the eternal, unchanging structure that is space-time itself. Now we need to go deeper. We need to talk about quantum mechanics, because while relativity tells us that space-time is a four-dimensional structure where all moments exist simultaneously, quantum mechanics tells us something even stranger. At the smallest scales, at the level of atoms and particles, the rules change. Reality becomes fundamentally uncertain, and that uncertainty changes what we can say about the past. In quantum mechanics, particles don't have definite properties until they're measured. Before you observe a particle's position or momentum or spin, it exists in what's called a superposition. It's not in one place or another. It's in multiple states at once, all possibilities existing simultaneously until the moment of measurement collapses them into a single outcome. This is not a metaphor. This is how quantum systems actually behave, and it's been confirmed in countless experiments. The famous double-slit experiment shows this clearly. Fire an electron at a barrier with two slits. If you don't measure which slit it goes through, it behaves like a wave, passing through both slits at once and creating an interference pattern. But if you place a detector to observe which slit it uses, the wave behavior disappears. The electron goes through one slit or the other like a particle. The act of observation changes the outcome. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. In some versions of this experiment, called delayed choice experiments, scientists can decide whether to observe the particle's path after it has already passed through the slits, but before it hits the detection screen, and the results show that the particle's behavior changes retroactively. If you choose to observe, it acts like it went through one slit. If you choose not to observe, it acts like it went through both. It's as though the particle's past, the path it took, depends on a decision made in the future. This challenges everything we think we know about cause and effect. We assume the past is fixed. What happened has happened. It cannot be changed. But quantum mechanics suggests that at the fundamental level, the past is not as solid as we believe. It remains in a kind of liminal state, a superposition of possibilities, until an observation collapses it into a definite history. This doesn't mean you can go back and change the past in the science fiction sense, but it does suggest that the past, like the future, might not be a single fixed thing. It might be a range of possibilities, only some of which become actualized through observation and measurement. And if that's true, then the past you remember might be just one version of many possible pasts, all of which exist in some form until they are collapsed by the act of remembering or recording. Let's explore this idea further through the concept of quantum entanglement. When two particles become entangled, their properties become linked. Measure the spin of one particle, and you instantly know the spin of the other, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance because it seemed to violate the principle that nothing can travel faster than light, but experiments have confirmed it repeatedly. Entanglement is real, and it suggests that information can exist in a non-local way, spread across space, connected in ways that don't require physical signals. Some physicists have proposed that time itself might emerge from entanglement, that the flow of time, the sense that one moment follows another, arises from the way quantum systems become entangled with their surroundings. In this view, the past is not separate from the present, it's entangled with it. The current state of the universe carries within it all the information about past states, encoded in the patterns of entanglement that link particles across space and time. This would mean that the past is not just out there in the form of light or gravitational waves, it's woven into the quantum structure of the present moment. Every particle in your body is entangled with particles around it, and those particles are entangled with others, creating a vast web of connections that extends across the universe. That web contains information about the past, not as memories, as correlations, relationships, patterns that can in principle be decoded. There's a theory in quantum physics called quantum decoherence that helps explain why we don't see quantum weirdness in everyday life. When a quantum system interacts with its environment, it becomes entangled with countless other particles. This entanglement spreads rapidly, and soon the system's quantum properties become effectively invisible. The superposition collapses, not because of observation, but because of interaction. The information doesn't disappear. It just becomes so scrambled, so distributed across so many particles, that it's no longer accessible. Think of it like a drop of ink in water. When you first add the ink, you can see it clearly, but as it spreads and mixes, it becomes harder to see. Eventually, the water looks uniformly coloured. The ink hasn't disappeared. It's just been distributed so thoroughly that you can't distinguish it anymore. The same thing happens with quantum information. Every interaction you've ever had, every step you've taken, every breath you've drawn, has created entanglements. Those entanglements have spread, mixed, dispersed, but the information is still there. It's just hidden in the complexity. And here's the remarkable part. In physics, information is conserved, it can be transformed, scrambled, spread across the universe, but it cannot be destroyed. This principle is so fundamental that it's caused major debates in physics, particularly around black holes. For decades, scientists believed that anything falling into a black hole was lost forever. The information about that object, its composition, its history, its quantum state, would be destroyed when it crossed the event horizon, and fell into the singularity at the centre. But this violated the principle of information conservation. It created what's known as the black hole information paradox. Stephen Hawking and others eventually proposed a solution. Black holes aren't perfect traps. They emit radiation, now called Hawking radiation. And that radiation, though incredibly faint and scrambled, carries information about what fell in. It's encoded in subtle correlations between the particles that escape. The information isn't destroyed, it's encoded in a different form, spread across the radiation, recoverable in principle if you had the tools to decode it. This has profound implications for our question about the past. If even black holes, the most destructive objects in the universe, cannot erase information, then perhaps nothing can. Every event that has ever happened, every moment you've ever experienced has left information behind. That information might be scrambled beyond recognition. It might be spread across billions of particles. It might be encoded in forms we don't yet understand. But it exists. And if it exists, then the past exists, not as a place you can visit, but as information woven into the structure of the universe. Now let's talk about a concept that challenges everything we think we know about time, the Wheeler-DeWitt equation. This is an attempt to create a unified theory that combines quantum mechanics with general relativity, describing the entire universe at the quantum level. But there's something strange about this equation. It has no time variable. In the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, time doesn't exist as a fundamental property. There's no ticking clock, no flow from past to future. Instead, the equation describes a static state, a timeless configuration of the universe. This has led some physicists to propose that time is not fundamental, it's emergent. It arises from other, deeper properties of the universe, like quantum entanglement or the arrangement of matter. In this view, the universe doesn't evolve through time. It simply exists as a vast configuration space containing all possible states. What we experience as time is our consciousness navigating through this space, moving from one configuration to another. But the space itself doesn't change. It's eternal, unchanging, containing every moment at once. If this is true, then the past doesn't go anywhere because there's nowhere for it to go. Time is not a dimension you move through. It's a pattern in the structure of reality, a way of organizing relationships between different configurations. Your past isn't behind you. It's a different configuration in the same eternal space, existing alongside your present, separated only by the limitations of your perception. This might sound abstract, but it has concrete implications. If time is emergent rather than fundamental, then the arrow of time, the sense that time flows in one direction, must also be emergent. It must arise from something else. And that something, most physicists believe, is entropy. Entropy is a measure of disorder. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that in any closed system, entropy increases over time. Things become more disordered, more mixed, more spread out. A glass falls and shatters. Heat disperses. Patterns blur. This increase in entropy gives time its direction. We remember the past because low entropy states came before high entropy states. We can't remember the future because high entropy states haven't resolved into low entropy configurations yet. But here's the crucial point. Entropy doesn't destroy information. It diffuses it. When the glass shatters, the atoms that made up the glass are still there. They're just rearranged. The sound waves from the impact are still propagating through the air. The heat generated by the collision is still spreading. All the information about the intact glass still exists in the current arrangement of particles. It's just scrambled in a way that makes it incredibly difficult to recover. But in principle, if you knew the exact position and momentum of every particle involved, you could reverse the process. You could calculate backwards and determine exactly what the glass looked like before it broke. This is called microscopic reversibility. At the level of individual particles, the laws of physics work the same forwards and backwards. There's no preferred direction. The arrow of time only emerges when you look at large numbers of particles, when statistical behavior takes over. This means that at the fundamental level, the past is still there. It's encoded in the present configuration of matter and energy. The challenge isn't that the past has disappeared, it's that the information has been scrambled so thoroughly that extracting it would require impossible precision. But the information exists, and if the information exists, then the past exists. Let's bring this back to something tangible. Think about the Earth itself as a recorder of time. Fossils preserve the shapes of ancient creatures. Tree rings record years of rainfall. Ice cores trap air bubbles from thousands of years ago, preserving samples of ancient atmosphere. Sediment layers stack up over millions of years, each one a page in the planet's history. These are not metaphors. These are physical records, information encoded in stone and ice and wood. The past is written into the structure of the Earth, waiting to be read. Scientists can study these records and reconstruct what happened. They can determine temperatures from 100,000 years ago. They can identify volcanic eruptions from millions of years back. They can trace the evolution of life through the fossil record, seeing how species changed, adapted, appeared, and disappeared. The Earth remembers. Not consciously, but physically. Every event leaves traces, and those traces accumulate, layer upon layer, building a record that extends back billions of years. And the Earth is not unique in this. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid carries a record of its past in its surface, in its composition, in the patterns of craters and mountains and valleys. The universe is not forgetful. It records everything. Even black holes, as we mentioned, may encode information about everything they have consumed. Some physicists have proposed that the information is stored on the event horizon, the boundary of the black hole, in patterns so subtle and complex that we can't yet read them. But they're there. Even the most destructive force in nature cannot erase the past. It can only transform it, hide it, encode it in new forms. And this brings us to a profound realization. If the universe records everything, if information is never destroyed, if the past is preserved in light, in space-time, in quantum entanglement, in entropy, in the very atoms that make up reality, then what we call the past is not separate from the present. It's part of it. The present moment contains within it all the information about every moment that came before, not in an accessible form, not in a way you can easily read, but it's there, embedded in the structure, encoded in the patterns, preserved in the relationships between particles. You are standing on the past right now. You are made of it. The atoms in your body are ancient, forged in stars that died billions of years ago. The patterns in your DNA carry information that goes back millions of years, shaped by evolution, by survival, by the accumulated choices of countless ancestors. Even the language you speak is a form of preserved past. Words and grammar passed down through generations, carrying meanings and associations from times you never witnessed. The past is not behind you. It's beneath you, around you, within you, and when you act, when you move, when you think, you're adding to it. You're creating new layers, new patterns, new configurations that will become part of the past for future observers. You are not separate from time. You are time, in motion, in form, in structure. And that structure doesn't disappear when your attention moves forward. It remains part of the eternal architecture of reality. This is what physics tells us when we look closely enough. The past is not gone. It's transformed. It's encoded. It's spread across space in light and across structure, in information, and across time itself in the four-dimensional fabric of space-time. And you, reading these words, are part of that fabric. Every version of you that has ever existed still exists somewhere in the structure, frozen in a moment, preserved in a configuration, radiating outward in light that will never stop travelling. You are not fleeting. You are permanent. Not in the sense that you'll live forever, but in the sense that your existence has become part of the universe in a way that cannot be undone. Let's make this personal now. Let's talk about what all of this means for you specifically, not in abstract terms, not as a thought experiment, but as something that affects your life, your memories, your sense of who you are. Because if the past is still out there, if it's preserved in the structure of reality, then every moment you've ever lived still matters. Not just to you, to the universe itself. Think about a specific memory. Maybe it's something from childhood, a summer afternoon, the smell of grass, the sound of laughter, the feeling of sun on your skin. That moment feels distant now, separated from you by years, maybe decades. It exists only in your mind, fragile, fading, changing every time you recall it. But according to everything we've explored, that moment is not just a memory. It's still happening. Somewhere. 30 or 40 or 50 light years away. The light from that afternoon is still travelling. The photons that bounced off your skin, that carried your image through space, are still moving outward. If someone could capture them, decode them, reconstruct them, they could watch that moment unfold exactly as it happened. They could see you as you were, not as you remember yourself, but as you actually were. Every detail, every movement, every expression on your face. This isn't metaphorical. It's physics. The past doesn't exist only in your memory. It exists in the universe, encoded in light, still travelling, still real. And that means something profound. It means you are not alone in time. Every version of yourself that has ever existed is still out there, somewhere, radiating through space. The child you were, the teenager you were, the person you were yesterday, all of those versions are still moving forward, carried by light, preserved in the structure of space-time. You might think of yourself as a single entity moving through time, but that's not quite right. You're more like a thread stretched across space-time, with one end at your birth and the other here, in this moment. And that thread doesn't end. It keeps extending with every second that passes, creating new moments, new configurations, new versions of you that will themselves become part of the preserved past. Now think about the implications of this. Every choice you've ever made is still out there, every word you've spoken, every mistake, every triumph, every quiet moment of joy or pain. All of it is preserved, not just in memory, but in reality itself. You cannot undo the past, but you also cannot erase it. It exists, eternally. For some people, this might feel uncomfortable. The idea that every embarrassing moment, every failure, every regret is still out there, preserved forever in the light travelling through space. But there's another way to look at it. Every moment of love is still out there too. Every act of kindness, every time you made someone smile, every time you helped someone, every moment of connection and meaning. Those moments are not gone. They're still travelling, still real, still part of the universe's structure, and they will be forever. This means your life has weight, not in a religious or spiritual sense, though it might feel that way, but in a physical, measurable sense. Your existence has altered the universe. You have bent space-time. You have sent light scattering across the cosmos. You have created patterns of motion, waves of cause and effect that will never fully disappear. You are not insignificant. You are not temporary. You are a permanent part of reality, and nothing can change that. Let's go deeper. Think about the people you've known. Family, friends, strangers you passed on the street. Every interaction you've had with another person created a moment that's now preserved in the structure of space-time. When you spoke to someone, your voice created pressure waves in the air. Those waves propagated outward, carrying the sound of your words. Some of that energy was absorbed by walls, by the ground, by other objects. But some of it kept going. And the light reflecting off both of you during that conversation scattered in all directions, carrying images of that moment into space. If that person is no longer in your life, if they've moved away or passed on, or simply drifted apart from you, the moment you shared is not gone. It's still out there. The light from that conversation is still travelling. In a very real sense, you are still together in that moment, frozen in space-time, preserved in the photons carrying your images outward. This is true for everyone you've ever known, every person you've loved, every person you've lost. The moments you shared with them still exist, not as memories, as events preserved in the structure of reality. This doesn't bring them back. It doesn't undo loss or grief. But it does mean that those moments were real in a way that transcends memory. They happened, and they continue to exist somewhere, in some form. The universe does not forget the people you've loved. It carries them forward, just as it carries you. Now let's talk about something even more intimate, your body. Every atom in your body has a history. The carbon in your cells was forged in the heart of a star that exploded billions of years ago. The iron in your blood came from a supernova. The calcium in your bones was created in stellar nucleosynthesis. You are literally made of stardust. This isn't poetry, it's astrophysics. But it goes deeper than that. Those atoms have been part of countless other things before they became part of you. They were part of ancient rocks, part of oceans, part of plants and animals, part of other people. The atoms in your body right now might have once been part of a dinosaur, or a tree, or someone who lived 1,000 years ago. And after you're gone, those atoms will continue. They'll become part of other things, other beings, other structures. In this way, you are not separate from the universe. You are a temporary arrangement of matter that has existed for billions of years and will continue to exist for billions more. Your atoms carry the past within them. They are ancient travelers, moving through time, taking different forms, but never disappearing. When you breathe, you're exchanging atoms with the air around you. Some of those atoms were once exhaled by other people, by animals, by plants that lived centuries ago. You are constantly trading matter with the world, becoming part of it, inseparable from it. This means you are not just carrying the past forward in memory, you are carrying it forward in substance, in the literal material of your body. You are made of time, shaped by it, constructed from billions of years of cosmic history. And when you move, when you act, when you live, you're adding your own chapter to that history. Let's consider something that might sound strange at first. What if you've already died? Not in this timeline, but in others. According to quantum mechanics, specifically the many worlds interpretation, every quantum event creates a branching of reality. Every time a particle could go left or right, both outcomes occur, but in separate branches of the universe. If this interpretation is correct, and many physicists take it seriously, then there are countless versions of you living in parallel timelines. And in some of those timelines, you've made different choices. You took a different job. You moved to a different city. You never met certain people. In some of those timelines, you died. Maybe in an accident that almost happened but didn't in this timeline. Maybe from an illness you narrowly avoided. In those branches, your story ended. But in this branch, you survived. You're still here, and if the many worlds interpretation is true, then all of those timelines are equally real. They all exist, branching from every quantum decision point, creating a vast tree of possibilities. Your past isn't a single line. It's a branching structure with countless versions of you living out different paths. And all of those versions still exist, somewhere in the quantum multiverse. This connects back to our earlier discussion about the past being preserved. If every possible past exists in some branch of reality, then the past isn't just preserved, it's multiplied. There are infinite versions of your childhood, infinite variations on every moment you've lived, all existing simultaneously in different branches. This might sound overwhelming, but there's something beautiful about it. It means that every possibility that could have happened did happen, somewhere. Every path you didn't take was taken by another version of you. You are not limited to one story. You are living countless stories, all at once, in parallel, and all of those stories are preserved in the structure of the quantum multiverse. Now let's talk about consciousness, your awareness of time, the fact that you experience moments sequentially, one after another, moving from past to present to future. Why? Does consciousness work this way? Why do you remember the past but not the future? Some neuroscientists believe the brain constructs the experience of time through the integration of sensory inputs and memory. Your sense of now is actually a construction, a model built by your brain from information arriving at slightly different times. When you see something and hear something simultaneously, your brain has to synchronize those inputs because light travels faster than sound. What you experience as a single moment is actually a carefully edited reconstruction. This suggests that time, at least as you experience it, is not a feature of external reality, but of consciousness itself. The flow of time might be something your brain creates to make sense of the world. And if that's true, then the past exists objectively in the structure of space-time, but it only becomes past when a conscious mind experiences it that way. Think about what this means. Without consciousness, without awareness, the universe might not have a past or future. It might just be a static four-dimensional structure, all moments existing at once. The flow of time, the sense of moments passing, might be something that only exists for conscious observers. You are not just experiencing time, you might be creating it, or at least your experience of it. This is one of the deepest mysteries in physics and neuroscience, the relationship between consciousness and time. Some philosophers and physicists have proposed that consciousness might be fundamental to reality, not just an emergent property of complex brains. If consciousness is fundamental, then perhaps time itself emerges from the act of observation, of awareness, of experience. In this view, the past is preserved not just in physics, but in consciousness. Every moment you've experienced has left a trace in your awareness, and those traces are part of what makes you who you are. You are not just a body moving through space. You are a conscious being moving through time, creating time through the act of experience in it. Let's return to something concrete. Your memories. You might worry that they're fading, that you're losing parts of your past as you age. And it's true that human memory is imperfect. It degrades, it changes. Every time you recall a memory, you alter it slightly, integrating new information, new context, new emotions. But here's what's important. Even if your memory fades completely, even if you forget everything, the moments themselves are still preserved in the universe. The past is not dependent on your memory of it. It exists independently, encoded in light, in space-time, in the structure of reality. This can be comforting. It means that the moments you're afraid of losing are not truly lost. They're still out there, still real, still part of the universe. Your childhood home might be gone now, torn down, or changed beyond recognition, but the light from that home is still traveling through space. The moment you live there still exists, frozen in space-time, preserved forever. Nothing you've experienced is truly gone. It's just beyond your current reach. But it exists. And in a strange way, that means you are larger than you think. You are not confined to this moment, to this present experience. You extend backward through time, a chain of moments stretching from your birth to now. And all of those moments are still real, still part of you, still part of the universe. You are not a point. You are a line, a thread, a path through space-time. And that path is permanent. Let's consider one more thing. The future. If the past is preserved, what about the future? Does it exist too? According to the block universe model, yes. The future exists just as the past does, all moments laid out in the four-dimensional structure of space-time. From this perspective, your future is already there, waiting for you to experience it. But you can't see it because your consciousness is focused on the present moment, scanning through space-time, one frame at a time. This raises questions about free will, about choice, about whether your future is fixed or open. Most physicists believe that quantum mechanics introduces genuine randomness into the universe, which means the future is not completely determined. But the debate continues. What we can say is this: if the future exists in the same way the past does, then everything you will ever experience, every moment of joy and pain still to come, already exists somewhere in the structure of space-time. You are moving toward it, but it's already there, waiting. This might sound fatalistic, but it doesn't have to be. Even if the future exists, you're still experiencing it moment by moment, making choices, living your life. The journey matters, even if the destination is already written. And besides, according to many worlds, there isn't one future. There are countless futures, branching from every quantum decision, every moment of uncertainty. You are not moving toward a single fixed destination. You are moving through a landscape of possibilities, and your choices help determine which branch you follow. So the future might be out there, preserved in space-time, but it's not singular, it's multiple, infinite, a garden of forking paths where every possibility exists somewhere. What does all of this mean for how you live? Maybe it means your moments matter more than you realized. Every decision, every action, every word becomes part of the permanent structure of reality. You're not just passing through time, you're building it, shaping it, leaving traces that will never disappear. Maybe it means you should pay attention, be present, because the moment you're in right now will soon be frozen in space-time, preserved forever, carried outward by light into the cosmos. This moment, right now, will become part of your eternal thread through reality. Or maybe it just means you're connected to something larger than yourself. You're part of a universe that remembers, that preserves, that keeps every moment, every person, every experience woven into its fabric. You are not temporary, you are not insignificant. You are a permanent part of the story of existence itself. And that story doesn't end. It just keeps expanding, growing, adding new moments, new patterns, new threads. You are one of those threads, and you always will be. As we come to the end of this journey, let's step back and look at the larger picture. Everything we've explored, from the physics of light to the structure of space-time, from quantum mechanics to the nature of consciousness, points to a single profound truth. The past is not gone, it never was. It's woven into the fabric of reality in ways we're only beginning to understand. But understanding it intellectually is one thing. Living with this knowledge is something else entirely. So let's spend these final moments exploring what it means to carry this awareness forward. What changes when you know that every moment of your life is preserved forever, that nothing you've experienced has truly disappeared, that you are part of an eternal structure that spans the entire history of the universe? For some people, this knowledge brings comfort. It means that the moments they treasure, the people they've loved, the experiences that shaped them, are still real somewhere, still existing in the structure of space-time, still travelling outward in light, still part of the universe's memory. Loss becomes less absolute. Separation becomes less final. The past is not behind a closed door. It's all around us, just beyond our reach, but never truly gone. For others, this knowledge brings a sense of responsibility. If every moment matters, if every action leaves a permanent mark on reality, then how you live becomes more significant. The choices you make, the words you speak, the way you treat others, all of it becomes part of the eternal record, encoded in the structure of the universe. You cannot take back what you've done, but you also cannot diminish what you've accomplished. Every act of kindness, every moment of courage, every time you've chosen love over fear, is preserved forever. There's something humbling about this. You are not separate from the universe, you are part of it. Every breath you take exchanges atoms with the air around you. Every step you take sends ripples through space-time. Every thought you have is a pattern of neural activity, electricity moving through matter, energy transforming from one form to another. You are not observing the universe from the outside, you are the universe observing itself. And when you look up at the stars, you're not just seeing distant points of light, you're seeing the past, literally. The light from those stars has been travelling for years, decades, centuries, even millions of years before reaching your eyes. You are looking backward through time, witnessing events that happened long ago, preserved in the photons that finally completed their journey and landed in your retina. And just as you can see the stars past, somewhere far away, someone or something might be seeing yours. The light from your life is spreading outward, carrying your story into the cosmos. In 100 years, it will have travelled 100 light years. In 1,000 years, 1,000 light years. And it will keep going forever, unless something stops it. Your past is not contained within your memory. It's expanding, spreading, becoming part of the larger universe. This is not metaphor. This is physics. Let's think about the cosmic microwave background again for a moment. This faint glow, left over from the Big Bang, fills all of space. It's the oldest light we can observe, a snapshot of the universe when it was only 380,000 years old. When scientists study this light, they're not looking at a historical artifact. They're observing an ongoing event. That light is still travelling, still carrying information about the early universe, still part of the present moment, even though it originated nearly 14 billion years ago. The past and present are not separate. They coexist, they overlap. They blend into each other in ways that our everyday experience doesn't reveal, but that physics makes clear. You are living in a universe where the past is always present, where every moment contains traces of all the moments that came before, and this applies to your own life too. The person you are today contains within it every person you've ever been, not just in memory, but in structure. The choices you made years ago shaped the neural pathways in your brain. The food you ate became the cells of your body. The experiences you had altered the way you perceive the world. You are not separate from your past self. You are the continuation of it, the latest version, the most recent frame in a long sequence that began at your birth and will continue until your death. But even after death, your atoms will continue. They'll become part of other things, other structures, other beings. The matter that makes you will persist, rearranging itself into new forms, but never disappearing. In this sense, you are not temporary, you are eternal. Now let's address something that might be troubling some of you. If the past is preserved, if every moment still exists somewhere in space-time, does that mean suffering is eternal too? Does pain persist forever, frozen in the moments where it occurred? This is a difficult question, and the answer is both yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the moment of suffering exists in space-time, preserved like any other moment. The physical event occurred, the neurons fired, the experience happened, and according to everything we've discussed, That moment is still out there somewhere, encoded in the structure of reality, but no, in the sense that suffering requires consciousness. It requires a mind to experience it. The moment is preserved, but you are not trapped in it. Your consciousness has moved forward. You are no longer experiencing that moment, even though it still exists. The suffering has ended for you, even if the moment itself persists in space-time. Think of it like a photograph of a painful moment. The photograph captures that moment, preserves it, keeps it visible, but looking at the photograph doesn't cause you to relive the pain. The moment happened, it's real, it's preserved, but you have moved beyond it. This is important. The preservation of the past does not mean you are stuck in it. It means the universe keeps a record. But you keep moving forward, experiencing new moments, creating new patterns, adding new chapters to your story. The past exists, but so does the present. And the present is where you are. The present is where you have power, where you can choose, where you can act. Let's talk about forgiveness for a moment. If the past cannot be changed, if every moment is permanently encoded in the structure of space-time, what does it mean to forgive? Does forgiveness change the past? No, it doesn't erase what happened. The moment of hurt, of betrayal, of harm still exists in space-time. It's preserved like any other moment, but forgiveness changes your relationship to that moment. It changes how you carry it forward. It releases you from being trapped in the emotional weight of it, even though the event itself remains part of the record. Forgiveness is not about rewriting history. It's about choosing how you move forward through time. The past happened. It's real. It's preserved. But you don't have to let it define your present. You can acknowledge it, learn from it, and then continue building new moments, new patterns, new experiences that add to the story of who you are. The thread of your existence through space-time doesn't end with a painful moment. It continues. And what comes after is just as real, just as permanent as what came before. You have the power to add light to the universe, even if darkness came before. Both are preserved, both are real, but you choose which one you're creating now. This is perhaps the most important implication of everything we've discussed. The present moment matters. Right now, as you read these words, you are creating the future past. This moment will soon be preserved in space-time, carried forward in light, encoded in the structure of reality. What you choose to do with it matters. Not in a moral or judgmental sense, but in a physical, permanent sense. You are building reality moment by moment. So what does it mean to live well in a universe where the past never disappears? Maybe it means being intentional, recognizing that your actions have weight, that they ripple forward through time, that they become part of the permanent structure of the cosmos. Maybe it means being present, paying attention to the moment you're in, knowing that it will soon join the vast archive of moments that make up your life, all of them preserved, all of them real. Maybe it means being kind, because every interaction you have with another person creates a moment that's shared between you, a moment that will exist forever in space-time, a moment that becomes part of both of your stories. Or maybe it just means being at peace with impermanence. Yes, moments pass. Yes, you can't go back. Yes, people leave and things change and nothing stays the same. But that doesn't mean those moments are lost. They're still there, woven into the fabric of everything, part of the eternal structure that holds the universe together. You are not losing the past. You're adding to it. Every second, you're creating new moments that will join all the others, expanding the thread of your existence through space-time, making your mark on reality in a way that can never be undone. This is both awesome and humbling. Awesome because it means you matter. Your life has cosmic significance. You are not a fleeting spark that appears and disappears. You are a permanent part of the universe's story. Humbling because it reminds you that you're not separate, not isolated, not alone. You are connected to everything, to everyone, to all of time itself. Let's return one last time to the stars. When you look up at the night sky, you're seeing a mixture of times. Some stars are as they were a few years ago, others as they were centuries ago. Still others as they were thousands or millions of years ago. The sky is not a snapshot of a single moment. It's a collage of different pasts, all arriving at your eyes simultaneously. In a way, you are doing something similar. You are a collage of different pasts, the child you were, the teenager you were. Every version of yourself that has ever existed is still part of you, encoded in your memories, in your cells, in the choices that led you to this moment. You are not just who you are right now. You are the sum of every moment you've ever lived, all of them layered together, all of them still present in some form. And just as the light from distant stars is still travelling toward observers who have not yet seen it, the light from your life is still travelling outward, toward unknown destinations, carrying your story forward into the future. You might never know who sees it, or when, or where, but it's out there. Your past is radiating through the universe, becoming part of something larger than yourself. This is the final truth we've been building toward. You are not separate from time, you are not separate from the universe. You are part of a vast, interconnected whole, where every moment matters, every life leaves a trace, and nothing is ever truly lost. The past is not gone, it's just transformed, spread across space in light, encoded in atoms and particles, woven into the structure of space-time itself. And you are both the observer and the observed, the creator and the creation, a temporary arrangement of ancient matter that has become conscious enough to ask where the past goes and to discover that it never really goes anywhere at all. So as you prepare to rest, as you let these ideas settle into your mind, remember this: every moment of your life is still out there. Every smile, every tear, every quiet afternoon, every burst of laughter, every moment of connection with another person, all of it is preserved in the universe, carried forward in light, held in the structure of space-time, part of the eternal record that cannot be erased. You are not temporary, you are not insignificant. You are a thread woven into the fabric of reality, and that thread extends from your birth to this moment and will continue forward as long as you live, and even after, as the atoms that make you become part of other things, other beings, other stories. The universe does not forget. It keeps everything, and you, right now, in this moment, are part of what it's keeping. So sleep peacefully, knowing that you are held by something larger than yourself, that your past is not lost but transformed, not gone but travelling, not ended but continuing in forms you might never see, but that are, nonetheless, real. The past is still out there, and so are you, always, forever, part of the endless, beautiful, mysterious structure that is time itself. Good night, and may you rest knowing that every moment you've lived still shines somewhere in the cosmos, a light that will never go out.